Jaco, obviously when you just recently retired last year, you probably didn't quite have an 100% idea of what it was that you were going to be doing within the team. Can you take us through how a day-to-day sort of looks for you, or week-to-week, I don't know, and then the second part of the question is, do you sort of referee all the sessions in real time?
Yeah, a few months ago I had a meeting with my wife and we agreed that we're done with rugby, and 2 weeks later we had to go to the same restaurant, another bottle of wine, and I had to explain to her I'm back into rugby. So it's been quite a turnaround, but I mean, I guess when rugby's in your blood, it's hard to stay away. Day to day for me, it's still a developing science. First brief is something we started last year, and the World Cup campaign. I spent a bit of time with the team, and the coaching staff asked me what can they fix, and I said we need to build a respect piece around refereeing in this country, not just for this team, but also around refereeing in this country. We need more referees and we need people to serve the game, so we have to create a different environment. So that's the first part of the brief, create that environment in the team. And then the second part is these fellas have got to coach within the key areas accurately. So my job is not to judge a referee performance. My job is to make sure that these fellas coach within the key focus, and then that those fellas then play and execute in those areas. And then obviously after games there will be alignment, whether we should adjust after a game or whether the referees will adjust. So that's the main day to day. And yes, I do have to referee a bit of training. And last week I also had to play a little bit. It was short of numbers, and I quickly found out I'm not going to play again.
So just a follow-on response from the missus.
He's fine.
Yeah, we haven't spoken yet. No, she also loves rugby, so pretty good.
Jaco, when it comes to the decision making and giving the players decision making by knowing the laws, how do you rate if it was let's say a player fault, or this one sort of against the team sort of ethos and where you're going? How do you sort of look in terms of imparting that information to the players?
Yeah, like I say, it's pretty clear what World Rugby wants. They put out a guideline, and then we have to measure players. We never plan to not concede penalties. We plan to avoid avoidable penalties. If you take part in the game, you're going to concede the penalty somewhere. So we class them in one or two or three categories. But like I say, it's a developing science, and it's a job that's going to develop and get more detailed as we go, because it's kind of the first of its sort.
Jaco, and maybe what you said now, maybe it's not surprising that more and more teams, especially the top teams, get an international referee in them. We've seen it quite around the world now. Is it not surprising because of the laws, the detail of it, and that they are getting ex-refs in?
Yeah, I guess it's not something new. Andy Brace and Frank Murphy goes to Ireland trainings in camp. Wayne Barnes would have gone, Luke Pearce would have gone to England trainings, Ben O'Keefe is at the moment in the New Zealand camp. So I think the teams find it more and more necessary as we go. The game gets faster and more dynamic to make sure that the players and the coaches are spot on when they train, because you can't fix everything Saturday.
Tony, maybe just what do you make of the rivalry between South Africa and Ireland? Also, just a lot has been said in the build-up to this big match coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, obviously Ireland have been playing some really good rugby for a number of years now, and you know, South Africa have won the last 2 World Cups, and Ireland probably feel as though they should have got more out of their World Cups. So it's created this who's number one in the world, and you know, I guess both teams think they're number one, and it's created a bit of media stuff, and it's good for you guys to get some ex-players to throw a few shots at the different countries, and adds a bit of entertainment leading up to what's going to be a massive test match.
Tony, you've coached against South African teams, you've played against South African teams at Super Rugby international level. What have you made about the evolution of the tackling game in South African rugby over the years?
Yeah, well, obviously it's never an easy team to play against, and it's definitely difficult to coach against, especially if you're coaching Japan. But South Africa have always had a style of play that's very, very hard to stop. It's based around physicality. It's based around being dominant in the set piece. So for me, around where can we go with our attack, I think we can do some amazing things if we keep that physicality, keep that domination, and then, you know, try and evolve around attacking a little bit more space more often, and trying to get the players to understand how we create that space, and then what we're required to do to attack it.
Tony, just to carry on that, when you got the approach from Rassie, what was the one exciting thing for you in terms of potential of working with these players?
The biggest thing really was probably going to be this weekend. It's, as a rugby player, you want to play in the biggest matches. You know, I've always wanted to be a rugby coach, and I want to coach in the biggest matches, and this weekend's a huge occasion. Loftus is very intimidating. It's an amazing ground to play at, to be at, in Ireland. Obviously, one of the better teams in the world, so it's going to be a great challenge, and I just want to be involved in, you know, coaching South Africa against the best teams.
Grunty, I think the last time you played for the Boks in South Africa, you didn't play very long. Maybe is this the perfect opportunity for you to just try and get rid of those memories of you in the green and gold?
I think if I get selected, still waiting on team announcement. I think that will be in the back of my head, but yeah, if I get selected, it will just be another opportunity for me to showcase my talent and to make sure that I bring my part to the team if I get selected.
Well,
Tony, how has it been settling in so far here? You've been here for quite a few months now, settling in with the team, and how has it been sort of trying to stamp your mark? Has it been a little bit tough, or have the guys been very amenable so far, and are you getting into it quite nicely?
Yeah, well, the players have been amazing. You know, we haven't had everyone for a long period of time, but everyone's sort of got into camp, full squad last week. So just getting them to understand what we can create and what we can do if we get things right, it's been awesome. The players have really bought into what we're trying to do. Now it's my challenge to push them as far as I can, and challenge them to, you know, push themselves to be better rugby players, and I guess I'm the attack coach, so I want them to be the best attacking players in the world.
Tony, just following on from that, against Wales it seemed like there were times when there were a lot of 50-50 passes, and it seemed to get a little bit loose at times. Was that something that you were concerned about, or is that kind of part of the evolution that you're trying to, you know, when you say if the players get it right?
Yeah, I think against Wales we did some amazing things. We scored some pretty good tries, and the boys, you know, around working on their skill set have been outstanding at seeing those pictures and being able to execute under pressure. And like anything in a game of rugby, if you're pushing the players to be better all the time, there is going to be mistakes. But, you know, over time we're hoping to negate the mistakes and have better execution, better decision making.
From Tony and Jaco, is there anything that you gentlemen have learned since being in the day-to-day Springbok environment that you were possibly unaware of or didn't consciously think of since you joined?
No, not really. Tough question.
I've got an interesting roommate. No, look, I've been coming to Springbok camp on short stints for a while, so pretty much accustomed to what they do here. What you can see is how much these guys work for each other, and that's something that refereeing is catching on to in the last few years, which is really inspiring to a group of referees working more together, looking after each other.
Tony, can I just ask you about how it's been to work with Jerry Flannery? What has he brought since he's come on board, and does he have any particular insights to offer this week that he might not other opponents?
Yeah, well, he's my roommate, so that's been interesting. But, you know, we've obviously bonded over the last, we've probably been hanging out together for the last 8 weeks. When the players go home, he's my wife and I'm his wife, so we go out for dinner and hold hands and things like that. But no, what I've noticed is he's a fantastic coach. He coaches the game very well, and he coaches it with some real intensity, which is ideal for a defence coach. And yes, he knows a lot about Ireland. I can't let you into what he's been telling the boys, but he's definitely got an insight into how their mentality and their mindset.
Okay, questions back. When you look at the Irish Flags in particular, they've gone through a changing of the guard, and you slightly said the same with South Africa, with the change of Flags from what you would have played against in your era to what the exciting crop of players now. How exciting will that particular clash be?
Yeah, well, I played a long time ago, so with obviously Johnny Sexton, who was probably Ireland's greatest player, with him retiring after the World Cup, it's left a massive hole for Ireland. But I think the young boy McCarthy, is it McCarthy? Yeah, Crowley. I keep getting that wrong. Young kid Crowley's done a fantastic job. He's been really dominant in the Six Nations. He looks like a fantastic rugby player for Munster, and he doesn't seem like he's nervous on the field at all. So I think he's fitted in pretty nicely.
Tony, just a word on South Africa's flags, working with them and with Grant and the scrum offs. You said about attacking space earlier. The decision making, how have you found that?
It's been really good. It's it's been a little bit different for them. Just trying some new things and getting them sort of trying to play the game a little bit differently. Obviously with Andre a little bit older, been around a long time, so I'm hoping that with a bit more time we can build quite a good partnership and get him playing some really exciting rugby. That when I was watching him as an under-20s player, he was probably the most dominant fly half on the gain line in the world as a 20-year-old. So if we can get him back to that sort of footy, that'd be amazing. And guys like Marnie and Sasha and even Jordan, like they play the game a little bit differently. So just understanding them as players and then them understanding me as a coach, I think it's only going to develop over time. And the best thing from my point of view is they've all got amazing skill sets and they can all push themselves massively and challenging themselves to be better rugby players. So it's exciting for me, and hopefully it's exciting for them to get coached a different way.
Question. Coach Rassi is quite an unconventional guy, the kind of thinking outside the box. How have you found him working closely with him? His thinking, the way he views the game, and generally as a human being.
Oh, he's been awesome. I obviously got coached by him back in 2008, and I really love the way that he coached the game then. I still love the way he coaches the game now. He gets the players together quickly, and he gets the players all going in the same direction. So for me as a coach, coaching on the back of that, it's makes my job a lot easier.
Jaco, looking at the law changes, a lot of the attention has gone to the free kick and to the scrum. In real time, what have you actually found to be the laws that have exercised your sort of attention the most?
Yeah, look, obviously first of all we're trialling the new television match official protocol, so thanks to Ireland for also being willing to go into that space where we all recognise that we have to do something, so we have to have some data and trials and be innovative, and maybe after the series we say no, this is not the way, but at least we tested it. But Ireland was willing with us to innovate, so that's positive. If you don't know the protocol, it takes you back to last attacking possession, so you can review technicalities up to the last attacking possession, excluding set piece stuff, which in the past could only be 2 phases, which gives the television official a chance in real time to look at something, and if there is a clear knock on or a clear foot on touch, you don't have to let it play out until it's a try and then go for a big referral based on facts. So they have to have factual proof, and then they can just stop the officials and go back. Hopefully that'll speed up that process. That's one of the things. And then the so-called DuPont law will probably create a little bit more space, or a lot more space, if the kicking game's not spot on and you don't have players working back to put you on side, because you can't stay outside of 10 meters anymore and be put on side by anything the opposition does, like a pass or a run 5 meters. So I think that's the one, the training that we feel has got the biggest impact. Referees have made it quite clear that they don't want to give free kicks at scrum if they're 50-50, so they'll order a reset. So that I don't see that as having that big impact.
Grant, how have the new guys been settling into the system so far? And how's it been working with the guys sort of in your department, like Sasha and Mornay?
I think awesome. I'm still new as well, so I'm still learning, and obviously with Coach Stoney coming in, still learning new things. But I think all of us are on the right track. I think if you look back a year or two ago, things would have been different based on attack. And now for all the newer guys like myself, Mornay, Sasha, Jordan, Mani, we're learning and we're building, and that's positive for us. Yeah, so on the right track.
Jaco, were Ireland the difficulty in the referee?
No, I've refereed Ireland for more than 12 years, and it was a very successful period for them, and they've been very effective over that time. With a guy like Joe Schmidt, they're very particular and accurate. So, like any good team, when they are on song, it's a pleasure. And like any good team, when they get frustrated, there'll be some probably exchanges, but don't confuse the minute with the hour. It's been good with Ireland, been good with most of those teams, special competitions. Mostly I refereed them in Six Nations. It's been pretty good.
Grant, the environment that you find yourself in, the Springbok environment, for you as a player, what have you realized and what have you sort of come to in terms of becoming better, and what does this sort of environment demand for you?
I think it's healthy competition. I think that's the most important thing for me. I normally grow, talking about myself now personally, I normally grow when the competition's on, so we have 4 good nines at the moment, and if you look at nines in general in South Africa, they've been all successful in their department, so for me it's been healthy. It's been healthy competition. It brings out the best in me personally.
In terms of perspective, what has been expected for you, and how has that opened your perspective?
I think the Springbok standards are high, so I'm not going to go into detail on what we're doing, but there's no time for you to slack or to drop your intensity. It's always mental toughness first of all, and then high standards.
Grant, how exciting is this moment of playing the first test of the year back in South Africa? This opportunity, obviously in 2020, wasn't available because of COVID, and now the Boks do finally have an opportunity to play a first test at home as double world champions. How are you guys receptive to the emotional state of playing this particular test, especially against Ireland in particular?
I think the vibe in the camp is quite exciting. I think everyone's looking forward to this test. To be back on home soil, I think that's also special. Sold out Loftus, I think everyone's looking forward to that. But overall, I think, like I said before, the vibe in the camp, everyone's pretty excited, players and management.
Grant, this is your chance to get yourself into Tony's good books. What's the most sort of exciting or interesting thing you've learned from working with him over the last few weeks?
I think Coach Tony mentioned it early on. It's just for us to see space better. I think that's the one thing that stood out for me as a 9. To identify space earlier, and obviously seeing it much better, and that's one thing that stood out for me. Am I in your good books?
Grant, are you enjoying sort of being able to focus a bit more on 9 this year after playing a bit on the wing at the World Cup? Has that been a bit better for you?
Both, actually. Whatever the Springboks demand or ask of me, I think I'll be able to deliver and put myself in that position. So it doesn't matter if it's 9 or wing. Yeah, whatever the Springboks demand, I'll take it on.
Grant, Tony's obviously touched on it, that there's a lot of hype going on at the moment about Ireland versus South Africa and world #1 versus double World Cup champions. Within the team though, is there any sort of talk about how, sure, we've won 2 World Cups, but we haven't beaten Ireland for a long while, we need to kind of prove ourselves against them, or a sense of, you know, we need to show them that they're not #1, we are?
I think it's the normal standard for a Springbok side. We pride ourselves on winning test matches, and I think that's something we don't dwell too much on #1 or #2 and whatsoever. But yeah, the World Cup it's in the past now, and we're looking forward to a test match on Saturday. And I think that's where the whole squad is.
Tony, there's obviously the immediate focus of now on Ireland and then the Rugby Championship. But over the course of the next 4 years, in 4 years' time, when you get to that World Cup, where do you want this backline to be?
Oh, it's a big question. I think short term, you know, we want to attack a lot better than we have previously. That's my job, is to create a style of game that these boys can play really, really well. And the game changes so fast, and my job is to try and find a competitive edge that sort of keeps Springboks at the top of the world. And in 4 years' time, that's 100% the goal, is to win 3 World Cups in a row.
And then just following up on that, Rusty said you've been working a bit with the goal kickers as well. Obviously, the last 2 games against Ireland, goal kicking was a huge factor in the result. Just your thoughts on where they are now in terms of confidence?
Yeah, no, they're all confident goal kickers. You know, obviously Marnie's had a few issues recent times, but you know, when he practices, he's quality goal kicker. So it's a matter of him getting a little bit more comfortable on the big stage, and you know, I'm sure he can fix that pretty quickly. And then you know, the other 2 boys are pretty good.
Let's take the last English question, guys, and then we're going to switch to Afrikaans because we're running out of time. And then if there's time again, we'll come back to English. So last question in English for now.
What difference do you see between Ireland of 2019 and Ireland of today?
I think in 2019, when I coached against Ireland for Japan, they had a bit of a sort of aging team, and they had a few injuries. You know, Johnny Sexton was injured, Carney was injured, so a few of their key players weren't at the top of their game. I feel as though they've sort of rectified all those problems. Gibson Park's been massive for them as a 9. I think he plays the game faster than Conor Murray. So it's allowed Ireland to be quite dominant and play the game at speed.
Okay, Afrikaans, guys, and then if there's time, we'll